also one requisite requirement if you want to work in an energy sector, and also if you want to aspire to be a head of an organization, you also need to have a unique name. In the morning we had CS Wakuyambu. Right now we had CS Mukalama. Now you have CS Robert Mahenia. So if you have such a unique name and you have an LLB and LLM, I think you're in the right place. So, in terms of the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, I had alluded this early in the morning, how we have, before we started in 1997 under the Electric Power Act, where we were known as Electricity Regulatory Board, ERB, by then one Matere Ferreira, who later became the state controller, was the CEO and the chairman. And basically, as the word denotes, we were just regulating electricity. Fast forward to sessional paper number 4 of 2004, it envisaged that we need to have a wholesale regulator for both the electricity and renewable and petroleum. That gave birth to Electricity Energy Act of 2006, which provided for the ERC, Energy Regulatory Commission, and pursuant to 2010 Constitution and to align the statutes with the Constitution, we had to review that 2006, and it started in 2011 until 2017, as I had said. But as I said, the electricity is political. The law couldn't be enacted then in 2017. You know, Turkana, what was happening. You were busy doing hydrocarbon. There was an element of revenue sharing, and it was not agreeable there. Subsequently, the repeal was put on hold, and after the elections, the Energy Act number 1 of 2019 and the Petroleum Act number 2 of 2019 came to be. In this act, now 2006 we were only regulating renewable electricity and downstream petroleum. Downstream petroleum, it's petrol station, pipeline, and the refineries. When we come to upstream business, it's what we call of hydrocarbons, like what Talo is doing in Turkana, and also midstream, it's those gathering pipeline. That role used to be with the ministry until 2019. So 2019 Act consolidated that to be under the authority. And also because the word commission was now a reserve of the independent commission and the constitution, we now became as an authority. Then, in terms of the sector we regulate, it was vertically integrated until the energy sector until late 1998, and through reforms which were advocated by the World Bank, among other multilateral lenders, we had to unbundle. Unbundling means separation of functions, and unbundling started with separating distribution and transmission, and we had the distribution and transmission left with KPOC, and Kengen took over the generation of power. Fast forward to the same National Energy Policy 2004, it envisaged for purposes of effectiveness, efficiency, and improvement of the economy, we still had to unbundle further, and that one gave birth to the transmission company, which came to be incorporated in 2008. That's Ketraco, and the GDC also in 2008. The essence of incorporating the GDC was not many lenders give money when you are doing exploration. So the exploration aspect of geothermal, it was to be undertaken by government through GDC, so that when they strike steam, now you can invite what we call independent power producers to come and produce, because the element of exploration has already been and development de-risked by the government. So that's how the unbundling for the geothermal came to be. And also, as we said, still before 2006, what CEO Mukalama's institution does was also being done by KPOC until the Rural Electrification Authority, which became later RERIC, was formed in 2006, and then the name changed in 2019. So basically, that in terms of electricity, it's what we regulate. In terms of the petroleum sector, we regulate what I have called downstream, midstream, and upstream petroleum business. How do we do this regulation? So we do the licensing component, we do the tariff setting, and in consultation with the Ministry of Energy, we do the planning. Under the planning process, we have what we call least cost power development plan. The current one in use is 2023 medium term plan to 2027. In those plans, we come with a plan where we are going to produce power from the least cost source, such that the net effect is to the end consumer, so that we don't go and produce power from expensive generation and the end consumer cannot also be able to pay. But also, as power is being produced, we also look at what we call in terms of energy mix, so that when you are producing power, it's just like when you are eating food. You might have access to a lot of soup, but you can't feed on soup alone. True? That's the same way people are saying, now we have hydro, we have geothermal, we have solar, we have wind. Why don't we produce from, in terms of clean energy, only solar and wind? What is likely to happen like today? There is no solar, there is no wind. We would be in blackout. So even when you are doing this least cost power development plan, you also have to know these sources complement each other. As CS Wabuyabu was talking earlier in the day, he was talking of generating power from nuclear, hydro, and also like now geothermal, they are what we call base load. Base load, it's like, for those who come from Central, base load, it's like Githeri. You are sure that when you eat Githeri, at least that it will enable you to survive the day. But when you go around the chamber and you pluck a fruit, like it's solar, you add it. When you go around and you see an apple, you pluck it. So basically, in terms of when you are generating power, you have to balance the sources. First, in terms of availability, in terms of technology, and in terms of cost. So as a regulator, we also do what we call tariff setting, as CS Rose has indicated, or what she has put its projects, and those projects have to be funded. And she might want to do all the rural projects if the money was available to her. And then the generator would want to do all the generation if the money was available to them. The transmission would want to do all the transmission lines if the money was available to them. So we have also to balance these projects, because we say you can't do generation without knowing who are the end consumers. You have to generate and do the with in mind the end consumers. You can't do generation without having in mind how is this power going to come from where it's being generated to where it's getting used. Yeah, what we see, the big lines, they are called the transmission lines, how you are going to move power. So we do all regulation on that. And when we are doing that, we have to enact regulations to accompany that. Right now, the regulations which we are doing, and they are of much interest to the public, one we are calling net metering. Anyone who uses solar for solar water heating? Mkono juu? Aye, all of us are staying in crystal apartments. Nobody is using solar for water heating. So net metering, and it's a business opportunity. If you generate excess, you will be able to sell to the grid at a certain amount. So if you have a big carport, if you have a big area, you might now scale up and if you generate a lot, you are able to sell and recover from the off-taker. That's the KPLC. That's about net metering. We are also doing what we are calling INEP regulation, Integrated Energy, National Energy Plan. In terms of planning, we also have to consider all the 47 counties, their needs. So as the law requires under Section 5 of the Act, when we are coming with these plans, we have to work together with the counties and incorporate. And also as we are doing that planning, it still gives way to what I call least power, LCPDP, least cost power development plan. Then there is what we call open access. And in the Power Act of 1997, it provided that every day you are not in power, you are supposed to be compensated 10,000 if it was not on your fault. I only saw 2 cases because as Africans, no, as lawyers, we don't like leading about energy. You go, you pay Kenya Power back then, and they fail to reconnect you. You didn't need to call them. It would have been an earning mechanism for you. At least CS Beatrice is here. She was there. She knows about it. But through subsequent repeal of the Act, we are no longer there, so don't go and start looking for the 10,000 per day. Yes. Then in terms of when you are doing this regulation, we call what we do public participation. We seek your views. It's one way of governance. We incorporate your views. We call for the stakeholders. Then the world now it's moving to clean energy. What we are having in place, it's the e-mobility regulations. We have just been developed in collaboration with the Ministry of Transport. Also, for those who follow the energy sector keenly, we have what we call the green hydrogen roadmap that's supposed to generate power. And through that generation of power, and production of green hydrogen, the product will be like ammonia, which is necessary for making fertilizers, which will have a direct effect with the agricultural sector in terms of sourcing of fertilizers, reducing the imports of fertilizers. Also in terms of methanol, which also would be a good fuel in terms of bioethanol and the biofuels, and mostly that's what we do in the electricity sector. In terms of petroleum, we also try to regulate the petroleum prices. We don't make the law for petroleum pricing. The laws are made by Parliament. I can see Mheshimiwa is here. They make the laws and we apply. They set the parameters, we set the maximum prices. And also when we are setting these maximum prices, we look at all the elements required, such that also one of the cardinal requirements of a mandate is to balance the interest of both the investors and the interest of the consumers. As I wind up, we also have mentorship programs. We do take in turns, and also in collaboration with the USAID. It has not been going for the last 2 years, but it's about to start. We always take 2 ladies. We call them Women in Energy Program, which they are usually picked from the field of engineering, economics, and law. So, and you must have graduated within about 3 years. So in terms of mentorship, that's one of the program. Internally, they are the internship program. And also those who are also recruited internally, there is a program which twins a mentee and a mentor. And also, as I started here sometime when I was young, I used to do the mentorship program. As the interns are leaving the last week, and these young people, they don't need to be mentored in terms of how they are coming to change the organization. The mentorship is as basic as their CV, their curriculum vitae, such that they can be mentored on how they are going to make an application. Because what I looked at, most of them, instead of indicating their hobbies, is community assistance, doing a lot of mobilization, green, whatever, advocating for clean environment. Most of them were putting their hobbies as traveling. Others were putting as socializing. So I was asking them, if I get to put you on permanent, when will you work? Because most of the time you'll be traveling, most of the time you'll be socializing. So some of the aspect, the soft skills, the internship need, they not even require a lot of resources, but in terms of a lot of guidance. And with that, I able to submit as much as I could within the short time. Asanteni. Sorry, I'm not the one who was supposed to speak. It was our CEO, Daniel Kipto, but we are still having some energy issues with our neighbors, and he had to be recalled to Nairobi to go and sort out some of these issues. And when we compared our shoes, he said, I think I can try and fit in his shoes. I hope I have tried to fit. So if you give me big questions, I'll take him the big question. The small questions I'll be able to answer.